I'll burn the pancakes and probably the house too, but baby, it's stuck to me like glue.
Oh my God, folks, I am so excited to tell you what just happened at the doctor's. So I had a doctor appointment at my OBGYN. And first off, may I just say how times have changed. When I was in my early 20s, I was paying like $400 a month, $450, $475 a month for normal health insurance. It fucking sucked. And that didn't count, the co-pays and the medications and all of that. It fucking blew. And that was like several years. And I admittedly, when I was way too young, did something relatively shady for money because I literally told the guy, look, I just don't want to have to worry about health insurance for the next couple months. That's how expensive my health insurance was. Now, thankfully, I have a discounted health insurance, which is really great, but it comes at a cost. In the past, this discounted health insurance was actually quality. And I genuinely could say that I was getting the best treatment that everybody else that was paying a fortune for medication was. I can genuinely say that is not the case for me anymore and hasn't been, I would say, for like the last 2 years. I find it funny that in the last, in the last, 4 months, I've gone to the doctors like probably 6 times now. And I've had to miss work, which was really annoying. And it's frustrating because they like to say, oh, you need an appointment for your appointment, or we can't just give you your results. You have to go in person. Or, oh, if you want to do this like test or swab or whatever, we need to talk to you about it first and we're going to like charge you, whatever. So I get frustrated because I'm like, yeah, okay, people get sick days. I don't. So can you please not affect my wages anymore? Interestingly enough, when I called the appointment line and asked for this appointment, they said I was going to need all these fun, exciting appointments. And basically, I was going to need an ultrasound appointment. And then on top of that, a consultation appointment just to discuss me getting a new birth control. And I was like, whoa, you guys. Like, I didn't throw a fit, but I advocated for myself is what people would call it. And I said, no, I've already had an IUD before. Yes, this is very exciting that I just found out that my IUD was misaligned or out of place probably like the entire time I've had it for the last year and a half. Very exciting news for me. So the fact that I have been experiencing all these excess pain and cramping for over a year was because my IUD was not properly inserted. And of the last 6 times a doctor has had to, quote, go down on me, no one thought to really check thoroughly. And just some education for you, they are telling me you cannot truly check the placement of an IUD without looking at an ultrasound. You can guess by the strings, but that's as good as it gets. So if you really wanted to be thorough, yeah, you would have to have an ultrasound appointment, which, oh my God, it's like how dramatic, you guys, right? So I ended up having to go because I thought that I had a tampon stuck up inside of me that I was worried about. And the only reason why I cared or even thought about it was because I have a running joke with one of my guy friends where we say that he saved my life because 3 weeks after my period, I allowed my friend to do me a favor. And he was like, whoa, there's a tampon in here. I said, what the fuck do you mean there's a tampon in here? My period was 3 weeks ago. Yeah, almost could have died. Very wild, right? That shit happens. I've heard of somebody going a week. but not 3 weeks. So I was probably stressed or tired or distracted. And so I had thought I put a tampon in me. And turns out either I didn't or it left my body on its own, whatever. The point is, I didn't have a tampon in me. But when I was in the shower right before I left for Mexico, I was like, you know what? I'm going to find this motherfucking tampon that doesn't exist. And so I was maybe like 2 inches up there, in the shower. I'm bleeding. I'm on my period. And not even 2, 3 inches up, I was like, oh, there it is. I feel the strings. So I pull. I was like, why is it so hard to come out? Pull. And there pops out my IUD. And I was like, what the fuck? I said, this is supposed to be in my cervix. I said, I've had dicks the size of a giraffe's head inside of me. I've had guys put their whole hand inside of me, and my IUD never came out. I barely touched this motherfucking thing, and my birth control just flew out of my body. Ah! Now, of course, me with past trauma, I was like, okay, I cannot go 1 second without birth control in me, because when you've been raped, your fucking head brain goes into, oh my God, if someone decided to rape me right now, they could get me pregnant. Like, I didn't want to have to deal with all that. You know what I mean? And this was like hours before I was supposed to board a plane and go to Mexico. So I very much tripped out because I wasn't able to make an appointment because I was going to not have service. So basically, by the time I got back into the States, I frantically was like, hey, I need an appointment. By the way, there might be a tampon inside of me. And they're like, cool, a foreign object and birth control. We'll see you in a month and a half. I said, no, you don't understand. If you actually care about toxic shock syndrome, if you actually care about saving lives, if you're actually going to say that was a problem, maybe not have me have a foreign object or no birth control on me for a month and a half. So then they negotiated it to like a month. And then I said, like, look here, you guys. Basically, we got it to like 3 days after. So a total of like 8 days after all of this went down. Thankfully, I had some issues with this. I don't want to say thankfully. I had some issues with this doctor's office and umbrella company for a while. And I said, I am only going to see this new doctor that was referred to me. I had one good experience. And let's just say I had a normal experience. This is kind of how all doctors kind of need to act and behave. And so I was like, no, I'm either getting this guy or I'm getting nobody. And we got to find a way to make it work. Thankfully, he was kind enough to say, yes, okay, I remember her. But they wanted to have all these appointments. And when I got there, they're like, no, it's okay. Like, and it's all about the doctor's comfort. No, it's okay. Like, I will see if she has a foreign object inside of her, and then I will put in a new birth control, because they wanted that to be like 2 or 3 more appointments. And I'm like, come on, you guys. I can't do this. I know you guys are money hungry. I know it's an extra buck. I'd love to know, honestly, how nurses and doctors get paid. Like, you're telling me that every time you see a patient, every time you do 1 blood draw, 2 blood draws, like every appointment, is it like a blood draw is $20 each, so let's charge for 20 different orders, and then an appointment is like $100, so if we can space it out to 3, it's $300. I don't know how that works, but it's totally fucked up. So thank God I was able to get my birth control. And I don't have a tampon in me. Toot toot. And it was funny because they were putting I forget something with a T. They had to like do a thing in there. It's funny, they call it a procedure. Honestly, the way it felt this time, it felt like a procedure. He's like, oh, because it's the old packaging, we have to use a sterile glove, and we don't have the whatever it's called. So just a moment while we have this very painful thing inside of you, we're going to pull this out, or we're going to go get this and then, whatever. So sorry, it's hot in my car right now. You know what? Fuck it. I love you guys. I'll just turn on the AC and waste gas and money. Oh my gosh. I actually feel like sometimes I lose brain cells like when it's so hot and I'm like forcing myself to not use AC. So here's me living it up, you guys. So they put the IUD in. This is the first time that it was actually very, very painful to put it in, very uncomfortable. They're calling this feeling that I have right now cramps, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, is this what cramps is? Because girls are like, man, we are warriors, let me just tell you. So, anyways, the whole point of this entire podcast was what the nurse said to me when the doctor left. She took out the informational packets of the Paragard copper IUD, and she handed me the informationals. And she said, here, because it seems like you like to have a lot of information when you could be asking Google instead. And I was like, damn, girlfriend, you may or may not have meant something by that. I acknowledge I do this with my primary care and I do this with my OBGYN. When I go into a doctor, I have notes and I have questions to ask. And you best believe I'm going to come in with questions. I got to the point where I stopped looking up things on Google because when you're in a state of a panic or you're questioning something, every single person on this planet goes to Google and starts tripping balls. I would say 80% of the time you should not go on Google and you're probably making matters worse for yourself. I could not believe that she was trying to be helpful and passive aggressive at the same time to be like, yeah, you could just be asking Google. A fucking nurse is telling me that I should just go, most people just go to Google. So if you want to read, to be more educated, here's some fucking pamphlets, even though you could go to Google. And I literally looked at her and I said, well, thank you for these informational packets. Wouldn't you rather me ask you or a doctor? I said, yes, I admit I ask a lot of questions. I'm sorry if it's annoying. But I don't want to ask Google. Google doesn't know me. Google doesn't know my history. Google didn't spend all those years going to school. Why am I being judged right now for asking questions? Why would I not? Okay, first off, in theory, I shouldn't be having to go to the doctors as much as I have for bullshit. But it's honestly the quality of doctors and care that I'm getting mixed in with cheaper health insurance. And that has been very obviously shown to me by the amount of times I've had to go to the doctor for something that should have been like 2 appointments, and that was fucking it. So that's really annoying. But in theory, when you go to the doctor so much, I've noticed in my experience, you keep finding reasons to go back to the doctor. So believe it or not, when you stay away from the doctor and you just go once for an annual exam, if you are blessed or fortunate or lucky or privileged or whatever you want to call it, to not have to go to the doctor more often, you honestly are probably in better hands if you don't keep finding nitpicky reasons to go to the doctor. So I was very grateful for a couple years. I saw my primary care like once a year. It was fine, no problems. And it wasn't until this dude gave me a common HPV that they said was potentially cancerous, that I had one of the rarer kinds of whatever the fuck, that they had to do all these special screenings, and they just decided to milk my health insurance, and I had to go back, and I had to go back, and I had to go back. Oh, and then this doctor gave me bad advice, so I had to keep going, blah, 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 for other things, blah, 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 all about the same things, very simple, very treatable, very everything's fine, whatever. Had to keep going back to the point where I got to the supervisor of this place, and I said, you guys, I'm not ever coming back to you again. You guys have fucked with my schedule. You have fucked with me. I have not been getting good care. I should not have to go through 3 doctors in your offices to get this bad of treatment. And then it was when the supervisor said, I understand no one has had one bad thing to say about this doctor. Why don't you try this doctor? If my family needed a doctor, I would swear my own family by this man. I said, okay, with respect, I'm giving you guys one more fucking shot because I'm fucking over this shit. So he was nice. He was helpful. In fact, the first night he was very helpful. He made this joke like, oh no, I don't mind answering questions. It's not like you can go to the grocery store and nerd out with people. I said, actually, that would be great. I don't know why women wouldn't be going up to you in the grocery store asking you all these questions, especially if you were nerding out about a woman's vagina. I would think they would find that free advice. Anyways, he was very helpful. The second time, it's funny, he seemed a little like he might have been having a bad day or something, but he was 110% professional. Everything was fine. But I could tell from him and the nurse, they were like, okay, like, you're asking stupid questions. When people say there's no such thing as a stupid question, they're looking at me with their eyeballs going, oh, yeah, Evelyn finds a way to say stupid shit. My questions ranged from, so out of curiosity, is it a fact that every time if you have your period, that means you're not pregnant? And fun fact, there are times where you could think you're having a period and you're not, and that could be from pregnancy, and that's from spotting, and it can also replicate looking like a period. So yes, assholes, sometimes you could think you're pregnant when you're actually not. I also asked if the misalignment had been happening for so long and if that's why I was having cramps for like the last year excessively. I said, this particular guy should not be causing me so much pain because I've never had this issue in my entire life. Could it have been from the IUD? And he's like, actually, yeah, it could have been like out of place. And I said, yeah, but that means it would have been out of place for like several months. He's like, yeah, well. So anyways, I talked to Paragard, the manufacturers. I submitted a claim. They submitted it to the FDA. So they said, and it wasn't until that very nice claim person said, well, like, have you experienced any like excessive pain or during intercourse? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. But yes, if the IUD is not in place, it wasn't his fucking dick that hurt me. It was my fucking birth control. And out of all the times the doctor had to go down me in the last year, we could not figure that out until I got a new birth control in. Anyway, so I tell this nurse, yeah, why the fuck would I go to Google? I want to go to somebody with a ton of experience who studied in this, who knows me. I can ask them questions about my personal life. And she's like, I mean, yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. She said the word fair. And then my brain spiraled. And I was like, you mean to tell me that it's so common for people to not want to educate themselves on their own body and, I don't give a shit type of attitude? That makes me wonder, when the nurses and the doctors know that that's common, are you guys also Googling shit? Are you also... This is why people are afraid of AI taking over. Because if doctors and nurses want to Google because it's quicker or faster, or the arguments I've heard is, well, the doctor went to school 10 years ago. Do you expect them to keep all this information in their heads? Okay, I understand that. That's not the problem. But if you're going to start Googling things because you can't look something up by yourself or through a book or through your colleagues, I don't know. I just have a problem with that. So I just thought that was funny that she's like half judging me for asking so many questions when it's like, aren't you like proud of a patient for wanting to be educated on their body so that they can take care of their body? Why would you give them shit for wanting to be educated? Look at all of the times where people have either died or had critical care because they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Oopsie, not a big deal. Okay, just a little tidbit. My friend's wife died several years ago, and he said that she was getting an itch on her leg. Just a normal itch, 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 itch. Nothing more than an itch, not even a pain, just an itch. She thought it was weird. Itch, itch. Looked at it, doctors are like, I don't know, it's just an itch, man. Nothing they could look for. 1 month later, she drops dead on the floor instantly. She had an embolism that shot up to her fucking brain, and basically she had a blood clot in her leg and fucking died. And that was just from a fucking itch on her leg. So you know what? I don't want people giving me no fucking shit for overthinking or asking too many questions. Ugh. I would love to say there's no more appointments, but after getting a new birth control, they're like, oh yeah, you got to come back in 6 weeks to make sure it's in place. Oh, to make sure it's in place. How cute. Okay, well, let's just see, hopefully. And then it's funny, and this is more of educational, you guys. So the first person that put my birth control in a year and a half ago, she was like, oh, you're on your period. Like she was kind of putting it on me, but now I could tell like she felt uncomfortable. She's like, oh, well, if you want to wait, we can wait, which is funny because supposedly doctors have an easier time putting in your birth control on your period, and it provides less like cramping and side effects. I guess I don't remember the words they used. More comfortable, more cushy. It's better on your period. But the person who put it in did not want to put it in on my period. And she's like, oh, I can't see it. It's hard. Da, 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 da. She didn't really know what she was doing. And alas, look, a year and a half later, something that was supposed to last 10 years had to get taken out of my body. So I asked this doctor, would you prefer to wait until I'm on my period? And he said, honestly, that's a total you preference. And I said, you know what? I'm thinking for me, it makes more sense to do it when I'm not on my period. And then if anything, it makes it feel more secure. I would think if you're on your period, it's more loosey-goosey, but whatever. I'm just trying to educate you guys. I don't know why people would not want to be educated. When I was in my 20s and I was depressed and I was bored and I was sad and I had all sorts of shit going on in my life. Like, I remember I was envious of people during COVID that learned a new language or decided to go to school. During COVID, I sat on my ass. I smoked weed. I watched movies. I went hiking. I hung out with friends. Like, I didn't do anything productive. I had some clothing exchanges. We wore masks. It was outside. But I was always envious of the people that were like, oh, I finished these books and I did all these things. And it's funny to me that I have become that person where I'm like, you guys, it's an amazing, beautiful thing to be educated. We shouldn't be shamed for that. But seriously, you're going to you're going to tell me I could just go to Google for my answers? Oh my God. If that's not the bane of our existence, I don't know what is. And I'm sure 30, 40 years from now, the generations are going to be like, oh my God, can you believe humans would go down on you and they would look at things? And now we've got these computers and these microchips and these cameras. Well, fun fact, I was on OfferUp like an hour ago, and my phone was overheating. And so it kept loading and loading and loading. And it said I had sold 1.2 thousand items. It said that I had 1.2 thousand messages. And it said I had like 1.2 thousand offers or something like that. It was a glitch, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And what I find so interesting is that we have all these data centers that take up so much electricity, that take up so much fucking water, and yet my phone, which is not even a computer or a whole fucking database, is malfunctioning. So let's say something is malfunctioning like it did on my screen. I took a screenshot of it because I thought that was fun. let's say something is malfunctioning and you put that information out there in the world. And that's the information that you're going off of. And you didn't know that it was malfunctioning. I just think it's interesting. When I was in Mexico and I was hanging out with my cousins, my cousins love AI and ChatGPT. And one of my cousins was like, oh, these are the statistics of one ChatGPT search. Because he made this joke like, oh, I don't want to like kill a tree or waste the energy or add too much power in the whatever, the database or whatever for asking that question. I joked and I said, wait, what do you mean? And he basically was saying just how much energy and electricity is used every single time you ask a question, any single time. And the amount of water that is needed to cool these, I was going to call them receptors, but these plants. And I'm like, wait a minute. I did not know we were losing water, which we don't have enough of already, just to power these fucking places. Oh, and by the way, we're going to have these huge electrical energy whatevers. And you're not going to tell me we're not going to get more fires, that there's going to be more problems. And then what? Like SoCal Edison or whatever electric company you have is going to say, oh yeah, we got to fix this. So we're going to raise all your rates because, yeah, that sucks. It's just wild to me. We have fires that the electric companies start and they update their systems, update their grids, update their machinery at the cost of our bills. It just fucking sucks, man. Wow. I would love to be a company that doesn't have to pay anything because I can just get my customers to pay it for me. You sack of motherfucking shits. Like, that's just so fucked up to me. Anyways, no, I couldn't get over that when a nurse is like telling me about Google. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, I have these great fucking pamphlets in my car for me to read about my birth control. Oh man, you guys. But yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm dandy. It's just funny to me. Oh, and then the last thing, because I want to educate you all. I said, like, wait, I forgot to ask. One more question. I said, can I not have sex in the next week? And she's like, yeah, you can. She's like, just make sure to use another form of birth control for like a while. She didn't really say when, so I'm just going to assume 2 or 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, well, the guy that I'm dating like half broke up with me because he said that he can't work on himself and love me at the same time. And I'm like, God damn it. He was honest about it, but ironically, I was excited because I was going to come back from not being sick anymore. And we were going to have passionate lovemaking. And instead, now I'm like, well, I'm either going to get laid next week or I'm not going to get laid for like a year. So maybe it's fine. Anyways, I hope that's not true. One of his arguments is always like, Evelyn, you always say it's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks before I see you. It never happens. And then I see you like all the time or random things happen. Then I come over and, well, joke's on you, buddy. It's been 2 weeks since I've seen you. And you just said, I need some space and I need to keep my distance from you for a while, but that I'll miss you. And there's all these things that we need to do together, but I need my space. So if it looks like I'm ghosting you, I'm not ghosting you. And I love you and I care for you, but I'm not going to be here. Well, guess what, bitch? It's going to be longer than 3 weeks. Oh, hey, P.S. you guys. This is a special message specifically for people that have experienced actual trauma and actual real pain. People that are truly, truly, truly fucking going through it. This message is for you. I just want to give a little bit of encouragement to you out there that it will get better. Not in the time frame that you want, but it will get better. What I mean by that is for years and years and years and years and years and years and years when I was on medication that I did not need to be on that nearly killed me, I didn't feel anything pretty much ever. And if I tried to feel something, it took great lengths and great circumstances for me to feel anything mentally and physically. So whether that had to be a giant fucking dick to feel, whether that had to be having an affair, whether that had to be going on a plane to Argentina and doing a lot of shady shit to help people get what they needed, and it shouldn't have been a crime, but I wanted to make sure that these people had iPhones and nice clothes and they got to be the cool family on their block. Oh, and this guy who didn't have a lot of money, let's throw in a $300 longboard for him because he's like cool. And I'll never forget that guy was like, oh, well, I think he thought he would be less manly on a longboard. And I didn't know anything about skateboards at the time. And he was like, well, if this was a skateboard, that would have been really cool. But you got me a longboard. I was like, bro, I literally paid $300 for a longboard for you. Like, you're complaining right now in the States. This Arbor longboard is very fucking expensive. You would not have this. You're probably the only person in Argentina that has a board like that. Chill out. Anyways, my point is, I didn't feel for a long, long, long time. And everything from like needing a very like deep tissue massage, you know? And yes, on one hand, I do have a high pain tolerance and I'm not really a baby. But at the same time, you know, it was at extreme levels where I didn't feel mentally or physically for almost like a decade. Explains a lot of my 20s in hindsight, honestly. So when I was dating this guy for a while, I noticed that I experienced some pain, whether that be emotions, you know, hurt pain, and then like physical pain, like when we were together, when it was very like romantic and loving and gentle, and I couldn't figure out why I was experiencing pain. And I really tripped out one day when I was with him, and I thought, oh my God, you're experiencing pain because you're finally getting your brain receptors back. My brain receptors were off for almost a decade and I could not feel. I was a zombie for a decade. And that comes at a cost. You know, if you have to take the highest dose of Adderall, not because you have ADHD, although I do, but because you needed a stimulant to stay awake because the pharmaceutical drugs that you were on were that powerful, and you just woke up after 8 hours of sleep and you want to go back to bed. Now I'm experiencing things like pain and pleasure in normal, healthy human ways. And even the pain, obviously it's not pleasure, but I smirk a little bit sometimes and I think, oh, wow, this is pain. I'm experiencing pain. I'm experiencing what it is like to be a human, and I did not need all this medication to convince me otherwise. And it's tough. You know, I could do a whole episode on whether or not I think you should be on medication. To each their own. Medication works for a lot of people. I am not the kind of person that appreciates medication. I don't think our healthcare system is set up. If you have good doctors and nurses and good health insurance and everything is lined in a pretty little bow for you, sure, get the help you need. But I was not happy being a human guinea pig for 7 years and having doctors that didn't give one fucking iota about my health telling me what I needed. I've said this before, but I didn't need a lot of medication. All I needed was a therapist. And there's things you just don't know when you're younger. And if you don't have any support or people advocating for you, or a boyfriend at the time that liked to see you down and submissive, The point is, I'm just saying to you guys, there's hope out there. And I know you're feeling a lot right now, and it hurts, and nobody wants to be in that pain. And you're sick of feeling that never ending pain, and you don't know if it's going to go away, mental and physical, but it can. And different things in your life can happen. I never wanted to. I mean, it was a trope. It's like everyone just loved to label me and say that I wanted to kill myself when I did it. But let's just say I wanted to all those years ago. I would have never gotten to experience the life that I have now. And it took me, I don't know, 2 to 4 years to get to the point where I was like, oh, my past wasn't the good old days. It's not like my life is over and that was the only good times in my life. No, I genuinely think this life is more healthy, more stable. And when you come from a chaotic, tumultuous, terrifying upbringing with a lot of trauma, yeah, it's difficult to regulate. And it was abnormal for me to experience a stable life. And I had to know what that looked like and be okay with it. And then also normalize it. It takes a lot of work. But I'm just letting you know I'm here for you. You get to a point where people have to call you masochistic just to feel anything. But that's not a good thing. And if I don't think I would have been able to do it then. I could have with the right help and support. But it truly is true what they say, that when you are struggling or dealing with something, you need to look within for the answers. And it's a weird feeling that I was making a joke with my friend who was in I was going to say sex industry, the BDSM industry, the kink industry, the fetish industry. There we go. Jesus Christ, that took me way too long. He's like, oh, you're such a masochist. Oh, look how much you can handle. Yeah. And I would not consider that a joke or something to be proud of or strut my peacock feathers for. I would think now, well, it's really sad. It's really sad that you couldn't just feel like a normal fucking person. And I do now. So even if I'm in pain for something, I say bring it on. It's human. And I know that we're entering a world where people don't want to be human and they want to plug up and, they want to put things in their brains or they want to feel less or they want to take drugs. I get it. I do think if we are going to find ways to be less human, then we are finding ways to replace ourselves, replace being human. And I guess if you were a scientist like my cousin who has his doctorate, he would say, well, I've learned technically we did come from monkeys. So, yes, in a way, if we came from big hairy monkeys, maybe in the future we won't actually be human and we will be cyborgs and we will just be machines with this little brain. And, would you call an ape a human? Would you call a caveman a human? Would you call a single-celled bacteria or whatever, the fucking big thing, whatever, would you call that a human? No, but it morphed into one. So, you know what? It sucks. I would like to not see a world in my lifetime where we become something subhuman. But also, if science was true in that regard and with evolution, then yeah, maybe that is what we become. That is what we evolve to, and maybe that is just a natural part of life, and maybe that was going to happen all along. And maybe it's not a bad thing because it'll just be what it is. But I know I appreciate being a human right now. And now I don't have to beat people off with sticks. It is still kind of survival of the fittest, if I'm being honest, just in different ways. But this time that we're in, I think it's precious. We're in a time where we have consciousness. Most of us do, thank goodness. We have the ability to think on an individual level. We have the ability to love and cry and scream and be passionate. We have the ability to love ourselves and love somebody else. We have the ability to grow and evolve and change and go through seasons and phases in our lives where we are able to be different people and we just keep growing at 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. How beautiful is that? Some people don't give a rat's ass about that. Some people are like, yeah, give me a blow-up doll. Let's go. I personally cannot be convinced that those people like that. But yes, of course, they are in a headspace where work culture is more important, or women have treated them badly, or men. And they're like, fuck this, just hook me up to a machine because I can feel all the little receptors going on in my body and that's fine for me. It will never be fine for me. And I guess where I need to not freak out is that there is something for everyone, and he or she could be attached to those little computers all you fucking want. Go for it. If you wanted to change or believe in a change, please let me the fuck help you. But that's not really the point now, is it? There is something out there for everyone, and if you want to be human, fucking be human. If you want to feel all the things, fucking feel it. But I don't think you need to take drugs. I don't think you need to pop all these pills. You are missing part of life. Plus, there's too many ramifications when you're older. You don't know when you're going to lose your family or friend support. You don't know when the doctor that you're going to see for all the debaucherous life that you had decides she doesn't care, he or she doesn't care, they don't care. I'm just saying, live your best life. It's not going to be easy all the time. Some periods of roughness can be several years or several decades. I am definitely not going to say that it's not. Mine was close to a decade, and I guarantee you when I was in it for a decade, I did not ever conceive of a way out. But here I am. I love you guys. Take care. Be strong if you want to be. Or just eat a bunch of food and get a Founder's Favorite at Cold Stone. For me, please. Or a nice mojito on the beach. Or something. Anything. I don't know. But I love you guys. Whatever that is for you, treat yourself. Also, it doesn't need to be out of your own pocket. Go on a hike. Go on a bike ride. Hang out with a friend. Love a neighbor. Go volunteer. Literally go hug a tree. Have you ever tried hugging a tree? I make an effort to hug a tree every time I go on a hike now. I feel like I'm giving them love. They're giving me love. Oh my God. Stare at the fucking moon. Have you ever just like gone about your business and then you're like, you have this like presence staring, like feeling like it's staring at you, and it's actually the moon, and you like look up and you're like, oh, what's up, moon? Yeah, there's many times where I'm having a thought or I'm in a place in my life and I look and I'm like, I see you looking at me and I'm looking at you. I'm going to stop now before this turns into a don't fly over the cuckoo's nest. That's a bad example. Okay, anyways, I love you guys. Take care. Be strong if you want to be. It does get better. Not in your timeline. Love you so much. Take care.
All right, it's your turn. Let's do this. I know how to love, 'cause in my dreams I was taught by you. I know how to love, 'cause in my dreams I was taught by you. Spend a little time with me, and maybe you will see just temporary